Alright, so today we got a pretty unique video because we have a very unique printer which is called HICTOP, spelled like that, and the model number Al13-310. Very interesting. So this is quite a unique printer and really reminds me of the Snapmaker family, as all the axes run on linear rails. So assembling the machine was quite simple. The instruction manual is great and went step by step very clearly and easily to understand. And even tells us the voltage we need depending on where we live. Everything was in this pouch. We also get this really nice screwdriver that has bits inside of it. So yeah, this part is quite nice and premium. So right off the bat, the whole thing is metal. Everything is pretty much metal, including this upper portion here, which consists of two pieces. And this is the spool holder. And you can put multiple spools on here. It looks like at least 3 if you wanted to. And it kind of leans back. So yeah, quite an interesting design. There's also a little magnet here that it magnetizes to keep it from, I guess, moving around. And also on the same frame, we have a feed here for filament that goes to the extruder. Now you can just run it straight down, but I think the problem with that is because when this thing homes, it goes all the way up and that could unravel the filament. So all of the structure rails that there's movement are all linear with lead screws on the inside, and this is kind of like a cover here. You probably guys can't see it, but they are in there. And so because all the movements are on linear rails, there should be really good accuracy, and there's no belts and rollers, things like that to worry about. So this is quite an interesting approach. And also this printer is advertised to print up to 300 millimeters a second, and we'll try some higher speed printing with it. And so we have 2 on the Z, 2 on the Y, and 1 on the X. So let's take a closer look at the hot end assembly. So this is a direct drive extruder, and this is a Titan extruder. There's also a filament detector here right on top. And this piece here is metal too, and this is like a release arm. And this little hole there is where our filament will go in. Here's the plug for everything. It is strain relieved here with the zip tie. Not too crazy about the quality here. We just got some electrical tape plugged in, and this is kind of the whole theme of this printer. It really feels like second grade as far as wiring goes, so yeah, keep that in mind. So in the front we have a warning, hot surface, and also there's a little screw inside there where you can adjust the tension, how much this pushes against the filament. Venting on this side, we can see the stepper motor for that direct drive, and on this side we have the parts cooling fan that blows through. Going underneath, you guys can see everything is kind of open. We do have a inductive sensor here, and this is for our Z axes or leveling and out of bed leveling, things like that. You guys can kind of see the heat break up there with the heat block. It's vertical. The block is not insulated, and that's our nozzle there. So I like that it's vertical, as it should be able to heat faster and more evenly. And right behind that, you guys maybe can see there's a blower fan here, and that's for parts cooling. It's the large one, and blows underneath the nozzle here with the duct being part of the shroud. So going down from the hot end, we got the bed, which is quite large, and we have this really nice PEI sheet, which is flexible and it is magnetic. So it's a steel sheet, and I really like these as they work very well, and this is definitely a big plus for this printer. So this is the magnetic mat. The bed size is 300 by 300 and 290 tall is the print volume, but on the label here they actually say 300 millimeters tall. So yeah, either way I guess it can go higher maybe if you use this thing or not. So we can see the magnetic mat on top, then the aluminum bed, and below that we do have insulation underneath, so that's nice to see. And our bed frame is pretty good size here, and you guys can see we have no knobs, so it's all preset and doesn't need to be adjusted. So all this was pre-built, which makes it very simple as far as putting this thing together goes. So the whole bottom base is very, very thick metal, which is quite interesting because it's very heavy, very low profile. We can see the rubber feet there on the corner, kind of hard to see, but yeah, quite a beefy frame, and should keep this printer from vibrating at all. So I do like the overall build. It's very strong and tough, but it's not a perfect finish. There are some little defects here and there on the surface of the printer, but you know, that's not a huge deal. So here we have the screen, and it is hard connected. So there's no feet or anything on the bottom. It just kind of slides around. So you can set this anywhere you want, beside the printer, on the printer. Now it's meant to be more on this side as it is closer, but I'm used to my screens being on the right side, so I kind of routed mine this way. So yeah, there is a protector here, it looks like. Go ahead and peel that off. So yeah, pretty nice angled portable touchscreen display. So going down from there, we can see this is where we switch our voltage from 230 or 110. So I got mine switched to 110, which actually says 115 on the inside. But either way, some information is a little contradicting, but it obviously makes sense. So here we have kind of like a handle to grab the printer, or a place to stick your hand to pick it up. On and off switch back here. So our front is very clean. We got the manufacturing label here, pretty typical stuff. So you can kind of see here on the corner, the finish quality, not perfect. We got also a little chip here, some more chips there. This is another place where we can grab it. And on the very back, we have ports for micro SD card and USB port. All right, so now we're looking from the back, and yeah, this is our spool holder. You guys can see it pivots here. So yeah, there's 3 bolts on each side to hold it. Our hot end assembly with the wire coming down. There's our blower there for the parts cooling on the back of the hot end. And going down from there, you guys can see we got a lot of wires here. So one thing that's a little strange is how this wire here, which is from the x-axis, is not long enough, so they include a little adapter that extends it, which is quite interesting, to be honest. Then we have the dual Z coming into this adapter, and then it goes into 1. And everything plugs here in the back. You guys can see we got Z and then Y2 and Y1. So the Y's directly plug into here separately. And there's our X there that goes to the top through this extension. Yeah, the wiring is a little bit messy and not very well thought through, seems like. So our screen plugs in here. We got the extruder wire here. This one's kind of crazy too because it has to stretch up and down. And it might fall on the bed when it goes down, I'm not sure. Yeah, it seemed like it would be nice to have some kind of little management here for this. And the bed wire also plugs in at the end here and just kind of, you know, tugs along here as it's going to move. So yeah, not very well strain relieved and could be a problem over time as these wires move around a lot and things like that. So, and also we do have another USB type B port here in the back. So going this way, we have a sticker here that says, please check your voltage or adjust it. Do you need to take this off, which will reveal our power input port. And I'm happy to see that it is fused. And yeah, overall pretty good design here on this printer. I like these corner brackets. It makes it very sturdy and overall feels pretty good as far as the construction. And I am pretty excited to turn it on and preheat it, level the bed, and start our first print. All right, so I got the printer plugged in the back. Make sure you got your voltage set to the correct value. Mine is on 115. So let's go ahead and hit the power button here on the side. And it powers up, and you guys can see that it actually loaded up really quick in seconds. And it does appear we are in Chinese right out of the box. So let's see if we can't figure out where to go. Maybe this button here. Here we go, maybe this one. Sure enough, there we have English, and these are all the languages available. All right, now we can understand everything. So we're gonna go through this in a second. I'm gonna go ahead and click on control and then temperature, and we'll hit on PLA here to preheat it. And so the nozzle is gonna go to 250 on the bed. And here we have the home button. So when we click that, it's going to take us to another menu. So you can home the X, Y, or Z. Or if we click the middle, it's going to home everything. So the X works. Looks like the Y works. And now the Z is going up. So it does look like it homes all the way to the top. And we've got to make sure this wire reaches here. It looks like it'll be okay. All right, so it looks good and everything homed. The bed is getting warm and the nozzle is also warming up. I can see here on the screen. So yeah, everything is working. So for the next part, let's go ahead and click on ABL, which is automatic bed leveling. Now they also have a manual leveling button, and I'm not sure what that's for as there's no knobs to adjust. So maybe for a different version, but if we do click on manual, looks like it's coming down. And you guys can see we get like these points where we can choose what part of the bed we want to manually adjust. But we're going to cancel this. Then we're going to click on automatic bed leveling. Okay, so it's telling us that the bed is too hot. So we got to cool it down, which is interesting. All right, well, let's cool down both the nozzle on the bed. So the screen itself is very nice quality and vibrant. Got a white background. Here we can see it says HICTOP 3D printer. So we got control, set, and print. So under control, we got temperature controls. We can adjust that here. We also have preheating, and there's also an other button which goes to 220 and 60, and maybe that's a programmable one. Okay, let's make sure we cool that off. So these are cool down buttons. Very good control here. Here we have filament in and out, so you can adjust the extruder to load or unload, and also you have preheat up here. Very cool. Here we have the home button. When we push that, we got choices of different homes, and also motor off, which will release the steppers. We got move, which we can move all of our individual axes a certain amount. Very nice. We got auto bed leveling, which we're trying to do, and the manual bed leveling, which brings up the points as you guys saw. So I think for this printer, all we need is the auto bed leveling, and then we'll set the Z axis offset and we should be good to go. So going back to the main menu, we got settings. So we got fan. You can control that here manually. Language, this is where we changed it, and these are all the ones that are available. Filament detector, and you can turn that on and off. It's on right now, and it's built into the hot end. resume printing, and you can turn that on and off. And I'd love to see this feature, which I'm very happy that they give you this option, because in spiralized mode 99% of the time you have to turn this off in order for it to be successful. Here we have information, and this is everything about the printer. And here we have a firmware update button. It looks like that's just going to read our SD card or USB drive for the firmware update. So for the very bottom we have print, and that's just going to read our SD card or the USB port for files. And that is everything. Very nice little screen. I like that it's portable with nice font and a great layout. Alright, so let's go ahead and click the out of bed leveling, and it still thinks the hot bed is too hot at 40, so it's not going to do it. I guess we'll have to wait a little longer. Alright, so it looks like finally it worked. As I clicked it, it's moving up now, and I'm guessing it's going up to home, and wow, it is very slow moving up. So yeah, we'll have to wait, I guess, till it goes all the way up and then back down. Alright, now it's measuring, and as it's doing that, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's 25 points looks like it takes, and they're turning red as it measures that area. So alright, so it's finished. It filled in all the points, and I think for the next part we need to set our z-axis offset, but I think it moved up a bit. So let's go ahead and move it down as much as we need. Make sure your nozzle is clean underneath, as they don't preheat anything when you're doing this. Alright, so we're getting close. I'm going to choose the 0.1 now and use this little post-it note to set the offset. Going down slowly. Alright, so we're really close now. I'm going to choose the 0.05 and go up, because I am a little tight now. And there we go. And that should be good right there. Now all we got to do is click the save button, and it should save everything. And there we go. So it's moving up to confirm. And we should be ready to go. So let's go ahead and preheat everything again. So we'll click on PLA. Actually, let me click ABS, see what that is. So it's 230 and 60 on the bed. Yeah, that's better. So as that's preheating, let's go ahead and install our filament, which will go all the way up here. And I'm going to use my own spool. So it just slides right in. And you guys can see we can fit at least 3 in here, maybe even 4. So for fun, let's see here. Got a couple of these almost empties. Yeah, definitely 4. Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. So I guess you could have extra spools up here of different kinds or colors. So alright, so we're gonna feed our filament through this little tube here up front or on the side, and this is going to prevent, or at least I think this is what it's for, our filament from getting untangled. So as this is down low, as it goes up, it kind of unravels a lot and can go over the spool, and this prevents it from doing that. So now we're gonna go down into the extruder, and we're gonna release the arm by pulling on it. You guys probably can't see very well, but yeah, you just pull on the arm and then feed the filament through the hole and kind of wiggle it around back and forth, so it can go all the way down into our heat block, and you guys can see it's extruding out. So I'm just going to purge it until we see red, and that's it. As simple as that, our filament is in. So if we look here on the manual, we can see the parts that are supposed to be in this pouch that came with the printer, and thankfully everything was there except for the SD card and the card reader. So that's a little unfortunate. We'll have to use our own, but you should be getting one, I would hope, and possibly there should be a test file to print on there. But I'm gonna borrow one from another printer. It is a micro SD, and if you guys remember, it does plug there on the side on the back, and it does go upside down. So now on our control panel here, we should be able to go to print, and sure enough, you guys can see we got a lot of files there, as it's what I had on the other printer. So let me find something here to start us with. So I guess we're going to do a little Buddha test print that I didn't even slice this from another printer, but it does print out pretty quick and very decently, so let's go with that. So when I click on it, it looks like it starts it up. We'll take a closer look at the menu here after it starts printing. Alright, so it's not starting for some odd reason. I'm gonna stop it and maybe we'll try another file. I guess we can do a 3D Benchy. Alright, it looks like that started, so something with the other one didn't want to start. So it's preheating the bed right now to 60, and after that it should start preheating the nozzle. And if I click on settings, you guys can see I can adjust a few things here, and I'm gonna go to z-axis offset and get that ready to go up or down, just in case we need to. And I'm gonna go to the 0.01 to make sure I can go quick. And there it goes. Okay, so it has to home all the way to the top, and you guys can see how the filament is really trying to go up too, and if it wasn't for that little PTFE tubing on the end there where it goes through, it'll just unravel from the spool. So that's why that thing is there. So I would like to see the Z-axis go a little faster than this. And this sure takes a while, and because it has to home on the very top, it will take some time. Alright, but wow, comes down super fast. Alright, so it's purging, and our offset looks perfect actually. We're looking at it. Or maybe needs to go, no, it does look perfect, wow. Kind of impressed that it just was perfect right off the bat. I don't have to go up or down. Well, that's really good. All right, so it's printing along, and I do believe that this is at 50 millimeters a second. And overall, the printer is actually quite quiet right now. I don't think the parts cooling fan is on yet, but it's pretty much at its idle speed, and you can hear the movements a little bit from the steppers, but they're, you know, quite muted and not crazy loud. Of course, we are not going at any high speed here, but yeah, not too bad for sure as far as overall noise. All right, and so this is what we see when we're printing. So we got print here on top, we got the file name there scrolling through, we got a progress bar, and it's going to fill up there as it goes. Also percentage 2%, and the time since we started has been 7 minutes. We got the bed temperature and the target. The fan speed is at 100, and this is the parts cooling fan, and the nozzle, which is 200. Here we can adjust the overall speed. It's 100%, so if you want to go faster or slower. And then on the very bottom we got pause, stop, and settings. And if we click on settings, we can adjust the fan here. We can turn on and off the detector. Also, we can turn on and off the power resume feature, and I love that that's in the menu here as you're printing. You can also adjust the baby steps, which is the Z height, up and down as you're printing, and the flow rate of the filament that's coming out. So yeah, very nice, and everything you need pretty much here while you're printing. So yeah, everything is going well, and the parts fan did come on. And let me bring my microphone in so you guys can hear a little better. So yeah, overall not too loud and definitely reasonable for what it is. Alright, so looks like everything is good with our print, and it's printing away, no problems at all. So we're going to print this benchy out and see how it turns out. Alright, so we printed out quite a few prints here, and these are a bunch of calibration cubes, and we actually have a few benchies here. So we started printing out this red one, and it turned out great, but I also wanted to go ahead and do some speed testing, and that's what these all are. So let's look at the first print we printed, which was this benchy in red, and this is 50 millimeters a second. Took about an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. You guys can see the bottom looks good, the sides. Very nice. The walls look great. Everything just looks really good. There's a little bit of vibrations, but you know, they're very minor. Overall looks very solid, very clean overhangs. So got great cooling, slid in the box, and our tops here look great. So yeah, 50 millimeters a second, it's quite good. So the next benchy is also in 50 millimeters in black, so you can see a lot better of what's going on here. So the bottom, the sides. So you can kind of see that the layers do sit pretty well. So if you do see some lines, that's just the way the light hits the print. Overall, this is very nice and clean. And this is why I like to print in black, so we can see a lot better of what's actually happening here. So yeah, just like the red one, everything is very clean and very nice for 50 millimeters a second. So let's go to these calibration cubes. I got 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, and 300. So this is a lot of speeds. Everything was quite consistent, except for the 100 and 150 was kind of weird. So I'll show you guys here. So this is 100 and then 150. That's the X, the Y, and then the X wall. And that's the weird part, is the Y wall. So yeah, there's something strange happened. And then when we got to 200, it completely did something weird. Right here, it's kind of slid, started printing on a whole different spot. Unless something jumped somewhere, but I guess if we ignore the bottom, we can see at 200 millimeters, the X, the Y, X wall, and the Y wall. So yeah, very, very respectable for these kind of speeds. And here we have 250, which still looks really good, surprisingly. So yeah, the setup definitely holds together pretty well at higher speeds. And here we have 300 millimeters, which is what this printer's advertised, and it starts to get a little sloppy, but still prints very reasonable, especially on the flatter walls. You guys can see it looks pretty good. So I would say that 200 millimeters a second is probably a good compromise, as it all still looks pretty good. I mean, we do have some ghosting, but it's not awful. And maybe even 150 would make more sense. We can see here on the Y, they're just finer ghosting. So around 150 to 200 seems like the sweet spot for this printer. And if we look at so this is the 50 and the 200. You guys can kind of see, you know, it's not that bad at all for the 200. Considering how much faster that is, especially on those flat walls. So on the other two benches, we got 150 and 300. So this is 150 millimeters a second. You guys can see, still looks very solid. We do have more ringing and vibrations, but it's not that much, honestly. And overall looks really good for 150 millimeters a second, which didn't take very long to print. And then we have the 300, which is super fast. I think this Benchy took less than 20 minutes to print, something like that. It's very quick. And you guys can see, very respectable for those kind of speeds. Now, I don't think I would print with 300, as it becomes pretty sloppy, if you guys can see. If I wanted to print fast with this printer, I'd probably choose somewhere in the 150 to 200, as it feels more overall that the printer is more comfortable with that kind of speed.